She has a mystique that is completely her own.
She's one of those artists that's managed to kind of fit into almost every genre, somehow.
She's the queen, the empress, the diva of all time. She'll be here forever.
She put the D into diva. She was the queen of Motown. Her career spans 4 decades. She is Diana Ross.
She has a regal presence about her, and it shows me that some people are just born with that style and that grace.
I've never seen anyone work as hard as Ross. I've never seen anyone more dedicated to show business than she is.
The former Supreme with the big hair and glitzy dresses and 77 hit singles has reached out and touched fans from all over the world.
Well, Diana is the queen of Motown. Always was, always will be.
She represents a part of American history, of the history of music.
I want to make everybody happy. And I used to say if I had to live my life all over, I wouldn't change it. Diana Earl Ross was born in 1944, one of 6 children. She grew up in the projects of downtown Detroit. From an early age, she knew she wasn't going to stay there. When she was 15, Diana joined a girl group founded by her friends Florence Ballard and Mary Wilson, called the Primettes. Luckily for them, Detroit was also home to Motown Records, whose biggest stars were Smokey Robinson and the Miracles.
Diana Ross would watch Smokey and the Miracles rehearse, and she asked Smokey if he could get her an introduction to Motown.
The first time I met Diana Ross, they were the Primettes. Smokey Robinson took them to see Berry Gordy Jones.
He sent them away, they were too young, and he didn't really want another female group. Diana persevered. She wanted to be in the music business, she wanted to make singles, so she used to clean his office and just generally make herself busy.
Berry Gordy signed the group, now a trio, and renamed them the Supremes. But at first they didn't live up to their name.
At the company, they were called the No-Hit Supremes because for 2 years they'd struggled. And Berry had thrown Smokey at him, and even Smokey couldn't get a hit out of him.
Berry Gordy wanted to take his music to the masses. In 1962, he sent the Motown artists on a 94-date tour of the USA. The Supremes were bottom of the bill.
The Motown stars on the road must have been a formative experience. It steeled them, it prepared them.
We were mistaken a lot of the times for Martin Luther King's Freedom Riders because we were black people on a bus seeking food.
There were audiences where there were ropes down the middle, white on one side, black on the other side, or white on the floor and black in the balcony.
The coach was shot at, the artists were shot at, but they still persevered because they were so strong. They wanted to take their music across America and, of course, eventually the world.
One particular show, people came from the balcony to the floor, and everybody was dancing together. And that was a fantastic thing to happen.
When we all arrived back to this building in Detroit, all of our records had charted. All of us were famous. All of us were Motown artists and on the charts.
And now, Jubilee proudly encores the gals who had 3 #1 songs in 1964, singing one of them, Baby Love. Welcome again, the Supremes.
When I think of Diana Ross, in a strange way, I think of Baby Love.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, oh, I need you.
Everybody in the world, if you mention Baby Love, can sing it.
Break my heart and leave me sad.
Supremes, man, it's like, you just hear them. I can hear it in my head now.
To make you stay away so long, 'cause baby
love, my baby love. It's just
catchy, it was simple.
Very hummable, 3 minutes of perfection.
It made you feel like you were in a penthouse with diamonds, rubies, a white ermine fur, big hair, a limousine waiting outside, James Bond pouring you your drink, and you were a black girl and it was okay.
It was Ross's voice as the lead singer that really made them different, I think.
It's just such a sweet voice and such a genuine voice, and there's no one else that sounds like Diana Ross.
She had that sexy kitty-like voice that just appealed to everybody.
Motown was a very good training school. You know, they had their own people essentially to teach artists how to walk, talk, hold a cigarette, drink a glass of water.
We wanted to train them how to be a rounded person off stage and on stage. So what we did is we made magic with the artists.
Mrs. Powell told us that we were not the most beautiful women in the world, and we certainly weren't the best singers. But we would apply what she teaches to us, and she would make us qualified to sing before lords and ladies, kings and queens.
Diana took to that Maxine Powell finishing school at Motown like a duck to water.
She knew where she wanted to go, and she knew that it took time and knowledge, and she had to practice, and she was one of the ones that would hang behind and practice and practice and practice.
Once they were packaged properly, they had the ability to perform and capture the audience. See, but they sold themselves the minute that they walked on the stage and opened their mouths. Everybody realized and knew that they were watching the Supremes.
Up until then, 3 black women like that had not been that visible in American culture. I mean, they totally changed the face of everything that was going on.
It was a style that also white people could relate to. And I think that's why this white boy from Holland liked the black sound of Detroit.
Diana Ross was photogenic. She could sing, she could flirt with a camera, you know what I mean?
Who's that one in the middle? And then everybody learned her name. Oh, that's Diana, that's Diana. And she bugged her eyes the most. She had the most teeth. She had the most everything.
Diana just really reveled in those cheekbones, those skinny shoulders, that little neck that was really scrawny and stuck out. And we were skinny too, so we loved it.
There were artists at Motown that had a better voice, a stronger voice. There were artists at Motown who could dance better. There were artists at Motown who possibly were more attractive. No one put it all together the way Diana Ross did.
By now, Berry Gordy and Diana were lovers. Suddenly, Florence and Mary found themselves being pushed into the background.
You just keep me hanging up.
I get the impression in the sense that Diana Ross kind of got lucky in the sense that, you know, there were people around her, as we know. Berry Gordy had a Motown who identified her as the one.
One of his favorite singers was Doris Day. He loved Doris Day for some reason, and I think maybe he saw that type of quality in Diana, that crossover quality, that commercial.
He was in love with her. Whether he was in love with her at the beginning or whether that happened later, that clearly was a lot of why Diana became the queen of Motown, why she was the center of gravity for the company.
Diana Ross would do anything that Berry Gordy asked her to do. she never thought twice. She never said, I can't do that.
It soon became clear that Berry's interest in the Supremes revolved around Diana. Cracks began to appear in the group. Florence started drinking heavily and missing recording sessions and gigs.
Sure, there must have been some kind of dissension in the group because of Diana Ross becoming the lead singer. I think just Florence just drank a lot of alcohol. She had her own personal demons, which I don't think was Diana Ross or Mary Wilson. I think just personal things within herself.
The girls argued. I mean, you get three women in a hotel room night after night after night, you're going to argue. And as much as you don't see that on stage, the bitching started behind stage.
In 1967, Berry finally sacked Florence, replacing her with Cindy Birdsong. The group officially became Diana Ross and the Supremes.
They represented upwardly mobile people, black Americans, going places. And so they stood for something. They were icons. They were successful.
Diana Ross was the symbol of a certain kind of optimistic vision of how nice America could be. And that was a key element in, if you like, humanizing, some of black people in the face of maybe other people who get, no doubt were a bit frightened.
In 60s America, the civil rights movement was at its height. But rather than taking to the streets, Diana Ross and the Supremes broke down barriers with their music.
She was the only black woman when I was growing up who was out there consistently looking like something other than an earnest civil rights marcher. So she always was a role model. I mean, unconsciously, it's like spooky to say it now, but she always was.
During the civil rights movement, they seemed to be the sound of a life force that was just pushing forward.
By 1969, the Supremes were now just a showcase for Diana's talents. She was recording all the group's singles without Mary and Cindy.
We had accomplished with Diana everything that the Supremes were going to accomplish.
Diana going solo was inevitable. You knew that Berry and Motown had ideas and plans and visions for her, so there was no surprise about it.
It was something that we had been talking about for 2 years. It was a question of when do we do it, how do we do it? And we picked 1970.
When Diana Ross left the Supremes, I was heartbroken. It was almost like, breaking up with somebody. It was very sad. But at the same time, I was very supportive because it was time for her to move out on her own and follow her dreams.
Ashford and Simpson knew how to make records for Diana Ross. They were the most fully formed, in a way, songs and productions that she ever worked with.
One of the things that I, as a male, I guess always recognized in her was her sensuality. That's why we rewrote Ain't No Mountain High Enough to just tailor-made it for her so she could use that beautiful speaking voice she has.
If you need me, call me. No matter where you are, no matter how far.
We wanted that to be the first release, right, honey?
Definitely.
And Mr. Gordy said, I don't think so. He wanted that big chorus at the end. He wanted us to put that up in front. We said, Mr. Gordy, that's not going to work because the song is like, it's like an orgasm. You have to have a climax.
I can still hear the opening of that song as something, the build of excitement in that opening, like an overture. My hair is standing up on end as I'm talking about. I've got goosebumps.
Ah! It was like this arrangement, it was like tremendous. The horns, the gospel background.
There was just nothing like it on the radio at the time, so it was like go, Diana. You know, she's come solo, but she's come out strong.
Her solo performances at that time, it seemed to me she found a kind of perfection. I mean, anybody listening to it would just have to open their mouth and start crying in response.
In 1971, Diana married Hollywood PR Robert Silverstein. What no one knew was that she was pregnant with Berry Gordy's child. She had 2 more daughters with her husband before their divorce in 1976. Professionally, Diana took a leap into the unknown with her first film role, playing Billie Holiday in Lady Sings the Blues.
It was a perfect vehicle for her. She was not actually a perfect Billie Holiday, but that doesn't matter because there wasn't anybody around at the time who could have done it better than she could have done it.
Lady sings the blues.
The film was a Motown co-production with Paramount Pictures. Berry Gordy was the executive producer. Diana's performance exceeded all expectations.
The truth of the matter is, it really wasn't until Diana did Lady Sings the Blues that she really became Diana Ross, the solo artist.
I never doubted the fact that Diana could act. It just, you know, somebody who performs that well and is that good, they just will. You know, it's just one of those things.
Kill me for it, wouldn't you? No matter how much you thought you knew Diana Ross, when you saw that movie, you realized you didn't. You realized how deep the talent went and how courageous it was of her to do that performance, to be seen as Billie Holiday.
I think what Diana draws upon in a performance like that is God-given. It's a raw instinct about human life.
Diana's first role earned her an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. She didn't win, but she had made her mark.
I think she fully deserved the Academy Award nomination that she got. I mean, the nomination was good enough. I mean, it was good enough for the performance in that film, and I think she should be very proud of that.
Fresh from her acting debut, Diana recorded an album of duets with fellow Motown star Marvin Gaye.
Stop, look, yes, listen to your heart, hear what it says.
Sex on Vinyl are the results of the combination between Marvin Gaye and Diana Ross, and all her duets are just phenomenal.
All the things that she did with Marvin were great. They had great compatible voices together. Whether or not it was genuine, it came across with a lot of love.
There was very little harmony in those sessions. A pregnant Diana objected to Marvin's dope smoking and refused to share the studio with him.
She didn't want what he was smoking to go into her system, so she suggested that they record at different times, and this will be seen as her being difficult, but you know, that's just a mother being health conscious.
Still, with an afro-wearing Diana and a laid-back Marvin on the cover, the album became a bestseller, spending 43 weeks on the charts. In 1975, Diana returned to film. Mahogany told the story of a girl from the ghetto who became a top model and fashion designer. But it was a troubled production. Berry Gordy sacked the director and took over himself. Diana took the lead role and the costume designer credit.
Diana made life a bit more difficult for herself because doing the costumes and stuff like that, I mean, she just stretched herself that much more, but there was a reason. She was playing a costume designer.
I thought it was an interesting thing for her to do. It was a lot to star in a movie and design it too, but who else would do it but Diana?
Not even Clint Eastwood does that, you know, I mean, and he acts and directs and does everything else, but he more or less leaves the costume design to the costume designer.
This time the critics slammed the film.
Mahogany, they were waiting for us. those forces who were never interested in seeing Motown and seeing Berry Gordy get any bigger than he already was. They were waiting for us, and the brickbats were out.
Mahogany was a fatal mistake. Okay, it might have been a different film had it been another director, but then Berry Gordy stuck his oar in again, and I think that he's definitely the problem.
Diana's next film, The Wiz, didn't win much praise either, but her screen presence had made a lasting impact.
Diana Ross really paved the way for other women to cross over into film. She really opened the door for a lot of black artists to be able to do that, and I don't think it would have happened as soon as it did had it not been for Diana Ross.
Throughout her career, one thing that's never altered is Diana Ross's passion for glamour.
She is glamour. She's had many, many looks through the years, and you know, from jeans to gowns and stuff, but when you think about Diana Ross, you think of glamour.
Your furs, false eyelashes, the beehive hairdo, full-on makeup, sequin dresses.
Her favorite color, I think, is red. I've never known her not to have at least one new red dress going, and she just goes for it.
I've heard stories about her demanding wind machines wherever she goes. I think if she had her way, she would walk around with one permanently fixed to her body.
Her hair has always been an expression of this sort of fantasy extension of herself.
She always used to come out, I'm coming up. And her hair used to be blowing in the wind, and her hair was like, ooh.
We knew that wasn't her hair, but she sort of came out and, you know, let the thing started frizzing.
A couple of years ago, somebody told me it was a weave. No! No! I don't know, so now I'm a little bit not sure about it. I always thought that was her hair.
It was time for a reinvention. Step forward, Diana, the disco diva. The Boss album was huge.
When Diana made disco records, as it were, it was a natural progression. It was logical. She always made great dance records.
This is somebody who's got her eye on where fashion is going, how she can extend her career, so that, yeah, she's a smart lady, no question.
I was right there with her. Disco was really, really hot, and people were like going to the clubs, and Studio 54 was happening and stuff, so it was really great to see that she kept up with the times.
I don't think there's an era of her singing that I didn't follow and love, even in disco.
Diana followed the Boss with a timely collaboration with dance guru Chic. Cue another clutch of hits.
Chic were the in sound, the in guys, and Diana wanted to bring her flagging career up to date.
Upside down, boy, you turn me inside out and round.
She says, oh, I think I'd like you to work on my next album. And we just, you know, we tried to be professional. Yes, Miss Ross. And exactly what, you know, inside we're flipping out going, of course, we'll do anything. Free.
Cherish the moments with you.
All of those songs were really reflections and interpretations of what we thought Diana Ross was and what she was going to become. So everything in that album was uniquely personal.
The Diana album proved to be a declaration of independence. Unknown to Berry, Diana was making plans to break free of Motown and control her own career.
Most people don't understand performers are really sheltered and protected so much sometimes that they don't get a chance to live their lives.
In 1981, a shocked Berry Gordy watched as Diana walked out on Motown and signed with RCA for a reported $20 million.
Diana was engulfed by Motown, and like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye, she wanted to have the freedom to do what she wanted to do. She wanted to break away from the so-called Motown sound, and the only way she could get that freedom was to leave.
I think it was very difficult for her. And by that time, everyone knew that Berry and Diana had been lovers and they had that relationship. And it was even harder to imagine she would leave.
It was like the breaking up of a marriage. It was probably closer than a marriage to end that relationship. And it was a very, very sad time.
To go anyplace else and to expect to have that same magic is possibly more than a mind can conceive.
With Why Do Fools Fall in Love, Diana proved she could go it alone.
I haven't stopped my urge for learning, and I guess that's what keeps my motivation and keeps me enthusiastic and keeps my energy high.
When Diana left Motown, she knew she'd have to take care of her own business, so she went to evening classes. She took accounting, bookkeeping, because she'd never written her own check before. Because while you were at Motown, they did everything. She'd never bought a box of paper tissues, she'd never booked an airline ticket. So all this she had to learn how to do.
After learning the business, Diana set up 5 successful entertainment companies, specializing in film, TV, and music.
I think she's an astute businesswoman. I think she learned how to be that. She clearly wasn't it at the beginning. She was probably as naive and gullible as anyone was starting out. But she learned from the best. She watched, she observed. She was determined to succeed.
The music that Diana was moving into was blue-eyed soul. It was more commercial than meaty. And you could see that as time went on, she wasn't associated with black music. She was associated with popular music. She was a black woman who was singing pop songs.
Somewhere along the line, she kind of lost course. As opposed to being an innovator with her music, I think the music scene was changing. You were getting hip hop and rap, and things were kind of moving in different directions.
She would go through what we might call various manifestations of her own dress sense.
You don't have to dress in a certain way to attract people if you've got the talent. And Diana Ross has certainly got the talent. She doesn't need to be doing that. So keep that spiky hair out of my face, please.
Even if you thought, oh gosh, what is she doing? The fact that she was so confident about it and felt so sexy in it, you kind of had to agree with her, didn't you?
Some of the music is okay. Some of it doesn't stand the test of time terribly well, but certain songs she made then will stand just as well as anything she did at Motown.
Her disc career basically tanked in America. She remained an icon, but her career did not have the record success that she had in Britain.
Black America thinks Diana is sold out. And once that happens, you never get back in that door again.
In 1986, Diana married shipping magnate Arne Ness and had 2 sons. While she was happily nesting, the knives were out in the US. 2 tell-all biographies painted her as a ruthless diva. She was no longer Diana, but the difficult and exacting Miss Ross.
Diana Ross is the diva. And she says to me, you know, Niall, I hate that word. Well, get used to it, because you are that woman.
If there's no smoking, there's no smoking. If there's no talking, there's no talking. And anybody caught in the act will know it. I like that.
People don't want a black woman to be telling them, especially in the States, they don't want a black woman to say, well, look, this is what I want. This is how I want it done. I want that respect. And when you want things done the right way, it can always be misinterpreted as diva-tude, diva attitude.
You do hear stories of her being demonstrative, a nightmare, but I've never seen that side of her. But I'm sure it exists, as it does with myself.
In 1999, Diana hit the headlines following an altercation with a security guard at Heathrow Airport. She was frisked, she objected, and she was swiftly arrested.
The woman who touched her was completely out of order. She was in skin-tight leather. What is she going to be concealing?
I just felt that she should have been treated with a bit more respect. Call me old-fashioned, but you know, she's Diana Ross, come on.
The people here are so wonderful here. Everybody's really nice.
It's obvious that whoever was searching her thought, oh, you think you're Diana Ross, you know, we'll show you. And she was thinking, oh my goodness, how dare they, I'm Diana Ross.
I sat in a police station like a criminal for 5 hours, and I felt really frightened. I was scared.
She gets felt up. She says it was the worst moment of her life. Shut up, Diana. All she did was feel her about a little bit. What's the big deal? When she got arrested, they put her in the station and gave her a cup of tea. Cup of tea?
For her, I'm sure that was a reality check, you know, to show that actually you are still a human being.
She made a fuss and she cried, and that's what divas do. Perfect.
First I was afraid.
Diana Ross's reputation as a diva lives on. Today, she is also a glittering gay icon.
Gay audiences love drama queens, they love tragedy, and they love campness, and I think that Diana Ross encapsulates all those things.
Diana said, hey, I'm not dissing the gay community. They make up my record sales. I'm playing to them. So she predated Kylie Minogue's awareness, Madonna's, and everything. So she's the queen, the empress, the diva of all time.
Gay people tend to want somebody that's extra. And with Diana, she is very extra. You know, the hair, the nails, the makeup, you know, and she's larger than life.
Diana Ross has some serious loyal fans. I mean, her fans have been with her from the very beginning and are still her fans. And then you have the fans that maybe, you know, came onto her during the disco era. But once a Diana Ross fan, always a Diana Ross fan.
She is a part of my life. I play her music every day. She is a bit like family. She is like a sister.
When I see her, I just go into like a dream state. She enjoys a performance. It shines out of her when she's on stage. You can tell that this woman's enjoying it, and she wants you to enjoy it too.
She pulled me on stage to dance with her. So I was dancing and we hugged. When she put her arms around me, I'm not religious, but it's kind of like, it's a wonderful feeling.
Reach out and touch somebody's head. Make this world a better place if you can.
Reach out and touch. I think that was a profound statement, and I don't believe that anyone else could have delivered it as well as she did.
Take a little time out of busy day to give encouragement to someone who's lost the way. Or would I be talking to
We were in Japan, and she started doing Reach Out and Touch, and all of a sudden the audience just, you know, grabbed hands and just started swaying back and forth. And it became such a moving moment, we kept it in the show.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. I mean, she made it into about an 8-minute number, and she would touch people, and they would touch her, and everybody would touch each other, and I frankly thought it was a bit creepy, but the audiences loved it.
Diana really respects her audience, and she's there for them. This isn't a show for her. This is really who she is. She really enjoys this, and when she does it, it's so matter of fact that there's no pretentiousness there.
I'm gonna do another verse because I like the feeling of it. Then someone finally came. He told me that he loved me.
It becomes almost like a religious experience where, you know, she lets people sing sometimes and stuff, and I think it's a number that people really, really look forward to.
After 30 years, Diana continues to reach out and touch just about everybody in her stage shows.
I like it when she goes out to the audience. I think you should connect with your fans because they're the ones that buy the records. And I think when she does that, I think you feel that she's more human and she's singing to you.
Love has never shown its face since the day you walked out that door. It's you, boy, I'm waiting for.
Diana Ross and Arne Ness divorced in 1999. She has 5 children. 2 of her daughters have followed her into the business. Tracy's an actress and Rhonda's a singer.
Didn't I tell you I wouldn't hold you down?
I think if you ask Diana Ross about her life and her career, she would probably talk about her children. Because I think in Diana Ross's mind, her greatest achievement are her children.
Diana Ross is still the leading female singer of our era because she's not afraid to change. Every new release, every new show is something different. You never get complacent with Diana because she's always looking for something new.
To capture audiences, to have music that can cross all ages, all races, is a magnificent thing.
She's made a mark in the entertainment industry, and at this point that's all she has to be, is just live up to being Diana Ross.
It's almost the model showbiz career. You know, she's made some of the most remarkable records of the last 50 years. Diana Ross did it pretty well.